Hi, I'm Sephra, and welcome to my brand new pop culture channel. And today we have some Star Wars news. Finally, some news that isn't crazy spoilers about the new movie. And this news, it feels old to me, and maybe it is, but I got a pop-up on my phone from the Huffington Post, of all places. I don't read the Huffington Post for various reasons, but today I guess I'm doing a video based on an article written by Ed Mazza in the entertainment section, and the title is Betrayed, George Lucas's reaction to Disney Star Wars plans revealed. The iconic filmmaker had some bad feelings about Disney's Star Wars plans. So, this article goes on to say what people have been saying for years now, that back when George Lucas sold Lucasfilm to Disney, that he had submitted 3 scripts along with it. And this article is actually based on the new book by Bob Iger, called The Ride of a Lifetime, Lessons Learned from 15 Years as CEO of the Walt Disney Company. And so he he describes a bit about the Star Wars acquirement and how things happened and how George Lucas was and so on. You can read the article yourself, and I'm sure there's lots of channels doing this article today. So basically, it seems like George Lucas, as well as the rest of us, not all of us, but some of us, we all kind of are having similar feelings about the Disney versions of Star Wars. The article says that George Lucas had kind of a different idea for how the series would go, and in his version, just like Colin Trevorrow's version, Luke dies in episode 9 after training Leia. And I think most of the fans, including myself, were prepared for Luke dying in episode 9 because we all know they have to die at some point. However, uh, we know what happened. And so George Lucas apparently was not happy with The Force Awakens. And the way this article is reading, it sounds a lot like how I was feeling after The Force Awakens. And I wasn't doing videos on Star Wars back then, but they are. I do have some thoughts on my blog, suffragerone.ca, back when The Force Awakens came out. And I still remember when I first saw The Force Awakens, I thought, wow, we waited 40 years just to see the Death Star and all the same old things happening again. But then I saw it again and wanted to embrace the new characters of Rey and Kylo, Poe and Finn, and just was trying to learn their stories. But as we know, we didn't really get to learn any stories, and the whole thing went off the rails in many ways. And in many ways, they're fine movies, but they're not the Star Wars movies we were looking for, right? And I guess they weren't George Lucas's either. He wanted more ideas about, the Force. He was disappointed with The Force Awakens because he's like, that's just the same old thing, which we all have said all along. And it's nice to hear George Lucas saying it too. And I think he thought when he sold the franchise that Disney would actually bring some new creative energy to it. And, they didn't. And so I'm sure Lucas is like, Luke, here we have George immediately got upset as they began to describe the plot, and it dawned on him that we weren't using one of the stories he submitted during the negotiations, Iger wrote, including now in the first meeting with him about the future of Star Wars, George felt betrayed, and while this whole process would never have been easy for him, it had gotten off to an unnecessarily rocky start. And Lucas didn't hide his disappointment when he saw 2015's The Force Awakens and complained it had nothing new. And so apparently he just stirred some controversy back then too. And he made his comment about how he sold his work to the white slavers and then later apologized for it. And then went on to say he was thrilled with the exciting directions of the franchise. And so in the book, Iger didn't detail the plot of the treatments they bought, but Lucas told James Cameron that he wanted to explore the microbiotic world of Star Wars. And then Lucas said, there's this world of creatures that operate differently than we do. I call them the wills, and the wills are the ones who actually control the universe. They feed off the force. We're vessels for them, and so on and so forth. So, you've probably seen this article, or you can go read it. And so it's interesting, that George Lucas himself isn't feeling the love for Star Wars. And it's sad, because I think he did sell it to Disney because we all, I've been around since the first Star Wars was Star Wars, as I say in every video. I was 14 when the first one came out, and so I've been on the ride for the whole time it's existed. And, I remember the backlash to the prequels, and that's probably why Lucas sold the movies to Disney, because he couldn't deal with backlash again of the prequels. And for me, the only thing I didn't like about the prequels was that Luke Skywalker wasn't in them. I guess I wanted more Luke Skywalker stories. And for me, that's why I've been disappointed with the new movies, because they didn't really use Luke. Yes, I know, like if it had been any other kind of story, if it wasn't Star Wars, although the new movies would be just fine. But since they do have so much iconic history, and we expected so much more from Luke because we've been waiting to see him in a movie for 40 years, and he does have all these magical powers, so it would have been good to see him do some stuff before he drops dead. Anyways, we will keep beating that dead horse. But I found it interesting that Lucas himself is, again, like Bob Iger himself saying about Lucas, George Lucas, that he's not happy. So it's disappointing. It's, a lot of regret with this whole fiasco. Um, However, I am looking forward to episode 9. I like to see what they try and do now. I still love my Star Wars, and they're just stories, and we can make up all the stories we want in our own heads about Luke and Leia, and for those of you like Han and Chewbacca, and so on, and just, you know, play with our toys, live with our fantasies, and see where the next one takes us. All right. So, anyways, that was a Huffington Post article this morning that popped up on my phone. Have a great day, and may the force be with you.